Hey, how's it going everybody, and welcome to another video. I am sorry I haven't posted in a while. I was busy with some stuff that's going on in my life, was not procrastinating. But during this period, I did have some time to watch a bunch of Netflix shows. Yeah. The show that I've recently watched on Netflix is Fate the Winx Saga. I think it's like #1 in the US right now. I wasn't really planning on like reviewing this show because normally I try to steer away from this kind of fantasy crap because they're all the same. They're all extremely predictable and thoroughly underwhelming. But then Netflix decided to get rid of my favorite show, The Office, and jack up their monthly subscription price. So I was like, fuck it, I'm paying for it anyway. Might as well watch this shit and diss on it. If you're planning to watch the show and waste 6 painfully long hours of your life, don't watch this video because obviously there are going to be spoilers, so you have been forewarned. So Fate the Winx Saga is, to put it professionally, a horrible mush of all bad movies and TV series related to teenage romance, magic, fantasy crap that's out there. I made a quick, overtly used tropes checklist for the show. So you have your educational institution for people with magical powers. In the Winx Saga, it is a college for fairies called Althea, which is in a country called Solaria, which is in a world called the Otherworld. FYI, Earth, for some reason, is called the First World. And this confused the shit out of me because how does that even make any sense? Why would you call your own world the Otherworld? Shouldn't you call your world the First World and all the other worlds the Otherworld? Also, Althea seems to be like severely understaffed because they literally only have 3 teachers. Not sure why, but that kind of explains why all the characters in the show spend like 98% of their time outside classes. Then you have your awkward protagonist who you right away know is going to be very special compared to the trash peasant fairy she goes to school with. And even though she doesn't know it right now, we know that everything in this world is gonna fucking revolve around her. Then you have the attractive male lead. He does attractive male lead shit like take off his clothes for no fucking reason and show off his abs. But of course, he is not a fairy. Fuck that. He doesn't do magic like some girly girl, okay? He only fights with swords and shit because he's a manly man. Hell yeah, manly man, man-ass man. Then you have your bullshit magic lore for this world. You know, like the elements that you can control. You have your earth, you have your fire, water, air, and just so they are not completely ripping off The Last Airbender, they included the mind. So, you know, when the monster is attacking you, you can read its mind and figure out why it's turning you into a shish kebab. At least you will die knowing there is peace in that. You have your evil student who is gonna do evil things at the school.
Hey, Mr. Starling. I'm Beatrix. And I'm probably going to sound like an asshole right now, but I'm literally your biggest fan.
And then you have your traditional barrier around the school that's keeping away the monsters. They call the monsters in this show the burned ones. Ooh, the burned ones. By the way, I'm gonna call the burned ones the BOs because I think that's pretty funny. To me, the BOs sound like people who just got zinged pretty badly, or they were trying to out-zing someone but they failed miserably. Like somebody came to me and they were like, hey, does your carpet match your drapes? And I was like, oh yeah? Well, does your ass match your other ass? Or some shit like that. At which point I was so fucking embarrassed, I just decided to go live in the forest, dress up like a charred sausage, and attack anyone who comes at me. So the protagonist of the show is Bloom Peters, a fire fairy that was born to muggle parents. I mean, human parents. And the show tries to portray her as this girl who has a very difficult background because her mom kind of yelled at her for, you know, not being social enough.
Go to the movies, go to a party, go somewhere that's not a rummage sale or an antique store.
Oh, I see. So it's not enough I go out. I have to be a basic bitch like my mom was.
Better that than some weird loner.
At which point she kind of lost control of her firepower and almost killed her mom. And she's at Althea to control it, which is all good. But honestly, I did not like her character. In fact, I actively disliked her character, mainly because her affinity to do dumb shit through the entire show. Like on the very first day of school, the headmistress, Farah, who's one of the only 3 teachers at school, tells her that magic is super dangerous and she shouldn't like play around with it, and the classes at Elfie are gonna help her control it. But Bloom is like, fuck it, I'm not gonna wait for classes to start, which by the way are starting the very next day. I'm just gonna take a quick stroll outside the barrier, even though people told her there's like scary shit out there, and just starts playing with a magic she has no fucking clue how to control, because that makes complete sense. And as you can imagine, she completely loses control. And this girl, Aisha, who is a waterbender, water fairy, decides to save her ass. And then Aisha is like, hey, you had like way too much power there. You can't just be like a common mudblood fairy. You gotta be a pureblood for pulling off that shit.
Oh God, you're a changeling.
A changeling is a fairy baby that switched with a human one at birth.
Wait, what?
It's barbaric and it barely ever happens anymore.
That's not possible.
You're clearly very powerful, Bloom. You have to be pure-blooded.
I would know if my parents weren't my parents.
And then Bloom starts like Googling shit about changelings. At this point, I would like to address the use of technology in this show, which is a buttload. How they cherry-picked all the tech that is like favorable to the plot is kind of annoying, because like they have phones, they have Instagram.
You full creeped on my Insta last night and I haven't told anyone.
And they have cars, but they don't have guns. They fight with swords. Are you actually telling me that a bunch of teenagers swinging medieval weapons is faster than just shooting the monsters? Fuck that! Now, as I mentioned before, Bloom behaves like a complete moron. On like the very same day that she almost set her classmate on fire, she decides that she's feeling homesick and she wants to go see her parents. So then she borrows this magical ring from this other girl, Stella, that allows you to travel between worlds. For some odd reason, the ring only works outside the barrier, because of course. My question is, why don't you just like video call your parents? You were doing that a few hours ago. Why don't you behave like a fucking normal person and do that again? So twice on the very first day of magic school, she just crosses the barrier. Do you even know what the word barrier means, Bloom? It means that whatever is on the other side of it doesn't fucking want to be your friend. Can they build a barrier to save the BOs from her stupidity? On the way back, for some reason, she is carrying the magical ring in like this weird way. What are you, an idiot? Like, why the fuck would you carry a ring like that? I have a ring. I don't like fucking walk around like this. Hey, monster, 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 do you want this magical ring? Here, come fucking take it. It's a ring. Just fucking wear it. Or like put it in your pocket. The moment I saw her carrying her ring like that, I was like, this idiot is gonna lose it. And surprise, surprise, she gets attacked by a BO who then takes the ring from her. Headmistress shows up just in time to save her ass. And honestly, people just showing out of thin air to save her is like a constant theme in this show. So Stella, of course, is pissed that Bloom lost her magical ring to the BO. She's like, oh, we gotta get it back because it's super important, because it was my mom's heirloom. My mom's gonna kick my butt, who, by the way, is the Queen of Solaria. Because why the fuck not? Honestly, a monarchy is like the easiest form of government you can have in these shows. You don't have to deal with like parliament and elections and politics. You just have this one person who's like, hey, do whatever the fuck I tell you. And they're like, oh, my queen, yes, I'll do whatever the fuck you tell me. It is consistent with the general theme of lack of depth in this show, so I'm not very surprised at all. So Sky tells her that they captured the BO and put him in like a barn outside the barrier. Stella asks Bloom to accompany her to get the ring back, and then for some reason these other girls also join them on their mission, and they kind of become a team for the rest of the show. Which, why? Like they just met each other. It's not reasonable to think that they're just gonna follow you on the second day of school to do some life-threatening bullshit. And then for the rest of the show, you're not really able to understand why they became a team, other than the fact that they just had to move the plot along somehow. They get to the barn, but then the monster has escaped. And here we go again with Bloom being a complete fucking idiot. She just wanders off by herself. Didn't you just see like a monster the day before? Like, why would you keep walking deeper and deeper into the woods? She gets attacked by a BO again, but then all of a sudden, now she's able to control her fire, which doesn't make any sense. Yesterday, you saw this monster and you were running like scared shitless, and now it's like coming at you. You're like, oh, I'm gonna bring out some fire. Like, I'm not scared. And then suddenly she has like perfect control over her magic. Skipping a bunch of crap in the middle, Bloom gets this weird image in her head.
Time comes. Find me.
Bloom. What the hell just happened?
I think I just saw the fairy who left me in the human world.
So she finds out that this lady is Rosalind, who was the ex-headmistress of Althea, and she was like the most powerful fairy ever. But then, like every villain ever, she went batshit crazy and killed a bunch of people in this place called Astrodel. And the terrific trio who were her followers were like, oh, that's bad, and we're gonna stop you and prison you under the school basement for the rest of your life. The evil student I mentioned before, Beatrix, she's at the school to free Rosalind. Somehow Bloom and Beatrix meet each other in this warehouse kind of place. I don't really fucking remember why they end up meeting. It was kind of bizarre actually. Yes, Bloom, go into the dark room with like the most suspicious looking person ever. She has an air around her that's literally screaming, I'm a bad person, don't trust me. So then in this dark room, Bloom finds out that her parents might actually be from Astrodel, that, you know, was nuked by Rosalind. And then Beatrix offers to take her to Astrodel. And then she ends up stealing a car to take her there.
You stole a car? How do you know how to steal a car?
I have no fucking clue why she would just go off. Like, why is she happy that she stole a car? Red flag should be going everywhere right now. She's a criminal. Why would you just go off with somebody that looks that suspicious who just stole a car? Beatrix then takes her to Astrodel and shows her all the ruin, and then convinces Bloom that it was actually the terrific trio that were bad and Rosalind was the nice one.
She rescued you. She rescued us. She had a crisis of conscience. Couldn't bring herself to murder innocent people, no matter how many burned ones they could kill in the process.
Bloom is like, oh, I don't believe you, it can't be true. But she totally does. She's like a sucker for any information that tells her that she is the center of the fucking universe. On the way back from Astrodel, the terrific trio end up catching Beatrix and putting her in prison because she murdered somebody in order to try and free Rosalind, but it didn't really work. At this point, you would think that Bloom is like, oh fuck, she's like a murderer. I probably shouldn't trust her. But as you can imagine, nope. Even though she murdered somebody like a psychopath, there's no fucking way good old Beatrix is gonna lie to me. In fact, she goes one step further and helps her bust out of jail and then goes on to free Rosalind. Honestly, Bloom is the actual villain of the show. Every bad thing that happens in the show is literally her fault. Bloom frees Rosalind, who then tells her that she actually did kill all those people.
One of the fundamental tenets of the otherworld is that only fairies can do magic. The settlers of Astrodel were the exception. They were humans who drew on sacrifice and death, blood witches.
So they start killing by killing more people? I think that fucking justifies it, doesn't it?
Power inside you is too great. That's why the burned ones outside the barrier want you too, to get rid of you before it's used on them.
They've been after me this whole time.
Here we go. Of course they fucking are. I get it. Everything in this world is about you, Bloom. Happy? Can we move on now? The BOs then start attacking Althea because I guess they got fucking tired waiting in the forest. And the show tries to go all like Battle of Hogwarts kind of thing. It kind of fails miserably to do that. Think Battle of Hogwarts and think negative 1,000 times cooler. The whole thing ends with Bloom accessing her inner power and getting her wings. Or should I say wings? But this whole scene is like really terrible. It just looks like it's out of some really bad music video. Really? Is that all of them? There are like 6 of these monsters. If like a whole school of fairies cannot kill like 6 monsters, I'm sorry, but you deserve to be BO'd. The show ends with like the tropiest cliffhanger where Rosalind kills Farah by snapping her neck and then taking over the school. You know, they kill off like a significant but not that significant character, so you're like, oh, they killed her off? Oh my god, that's edgy as shit, man. Yeah, it's a terrible show. I wouldn't recommend it. I hope you guys enjoyed my first review of a TV series. And if you liked it, please subscribe. Let me know in the comments if there are any other shows that you'd like me to, diss at. Yeah, have a great day ahead, guys. Bye.